I don't want to be dramatic, but it really kind of did wreck me financially. How much money I actually make. How am I complaining about financials when I'm not even posting? This is hobby behavior. That's not smart. It was a real wake-up call for me. Pull back a little bit on things that I share. People just make assumptions, and most of the time those assumptions are wrong. I've kept most things behind the scenes to myself until today. Today, I have a lot to say. And we're gonna do it in a fort. Hi. Hello, do you have any words?
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Your first fort. So I quit my 9-to-5 job about 2.5 years ago now to pursue content creation full-time. Mostly just vlogging and YouTube full-time. And it's definitely been a journey, both personally and professionally. I try and be as transparent as I can in telling you guys what it's really like. And so that's what this video is all about. Because in my other content, we're like fun, we're positive for the most part. I try and keep it real regardless. But like, this is the breaking the fourth wall, I guess. These are some pretty businessy, more serious-y topics that I think could use a little bit of whimsy. Because a lot of what I'm talking about today is pretty vulnerable. This is a very personal journey. So anyways, yes, hello, my name's Chelsea. I live in New York City with my 2 cats. This kind of video has kind of turned into an annual thing because my last video was a lot about the challenges of pivoting from full-time 9-to-5 to full-time content, my mistakes there, navigating brand deals. Like the first year is just very throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. And now this year I've had the opportunity to go a lot deeper. The content creator industry is changing so rapidly. Like, can I keep up? Do I want to keep up? Have I already made the decision that YouTube life is not for me when I decided to go back to school? How is it even possible to post four videos a week only and be able to support myself living in one of the most expensive cities in the world? Also, being real with, I'm going to be 35 this year. Does vlogging even still fit into my life? And much like my last video on this topic, it's very much podcast style. There's not going to be a lot of visuals, just, the cute little tent background. So you're welcome to just put me on in the background. But I also have my laptop here that I have some notes. I have to have notes, otherwise I start talking about things in circles and I never end up making a point. And yeah, we don't want that. Anyways, gosh, you guys, there's a lot of curveballs that have happened this last year. You have no idea. I hope it goes without saying that this is literally a dream job for me. But none of this would even be possible if I didn't have you guys showing up for me every single week to watch all my videos and support me that way. With everything I'm about to say today, even if it sounds a little bit more negative or I'm just focusing on the negatives, I don't intend it that way. Behind it is a crap load of gratitude that I even have these problems to begin with. I don't even really call them problems. They're just challenges. Starting off heavy with the financial conversation. Financials is a huge part of being a content creation full-time. Honestly, just living in New York City full-time, like you're always just thinking about money, but it's always like, okay, what do I need to do to make sure I can pay my rent and pay my bills? And honestly, that's like the reality of most people in this economy. So I figured to just start with a little transparency about how much money I actually make, because not a lot of people talk about like what they make from brand deals. These numbers I'm going to talk about, they're really relative. Like depending on your niche, you could be making a lot more or a lot less or whatever, even if we have the same subscriber count. On average, for the last year, I make around $4,000 a month from YouTube AdSense, Google AdSense. These are like the ads that YouTube picks to put in my videos that you get to either skip or you're forced to watch all the way through, non-skippable ads. On average, because I did mention my numbers last year, and so I was comparing my numbers this year to last year's video, my average on Google AdSense has gone up slightly. So last year around this time, it was closer to 3,500 a month. On a really, really good month, it was like 4,000, maybe even 4,500, but it's few and far between. It's a lot of money, but unfortunately I don't get to pocket all of that, and I'll explain more in a second. It's not enough to live on alone. That would be the dream though, if I could just survive on Google AdSense, but I can't. Luckily, I have the opportunity to work with some amazing brands. My rate is around $3,000 to $3,500 per 2-minute ad, one single 2-minute ad in one YouTube video. And my rate has gone down slightly in the last year. In general, I'm making pretty much the same exact amount across the board, which I think is very, very lucky. My posting cadence on YouTube is 1 video per week. Based on that posting cadence of 4 videos a month, usually 2 of those 4 videos are sponsored. Some months you're not sure if you're going to get 2, so sometimes it's just like 1 or none. And then the next month it's like every single video. It very much varies, but in the end my goal is just to keep it evened out. Let me give you like gross income idea. So sorry, the numbers are on my laptop. So for a month, if I post 4 videos and 2 of those videos are sponsored, on the lower end of the spectrum, I'd be making around $9,000 gross income without taking out tax, without taking out the portion that I give to my managers. On the higher end, like if a video of mine pops off and gets a lot more views, I can get more money from that. Or if I throw in an extra sponsorship or whatever, you could make upwards of like 11 to maybe $13,000 a month gross income. It truly depends. But yeah, not all of that goes straight into my pocket. For Google AdSense, I don't give my managers any cut from my Google AdSense, but I put aside 30% to pay my taxes. And then for any brand deals, my management gets 20%, and then I still set aside 30% of that for taxes. So it's like any offer I'm given for brand deals, I basically just cut it in half in my head and be like, okay, this is what I'm actually walking away with. So like if I have a $3,000 brand deal, probably I will end up with $1,500 in my pocket. In terms of net income, after I take all those out, my income looks more like $5,100 on the lower end, $6,300 on the higher end of that. So yeah, as you can see, I still heavily rely on brand deals, $4,000 a month. Taking 30% out of that is what, $2,800, and my rent alone is over now $2,500. So as I was saying, like, I have had some wonderful partnerships, and it's really been cool to kind of grow with some of these brands. Like this year especially, I've been fortunate to have a lot of repeat sponsorships and to get to know these brands a lot, and I really kind of understand what they want creatively from me. Like Headspace, Lisa, who else? Nourish, Quince, all brands I really strongly believe in. When I first went full-time, I was really worried about how my audience was going to react to me doing more ads. And I think now, years later, more content creators are talking about how honestly exciting it is for us to get brand deals, because you can't rely on I can't assume I'm going to be getting brand deals for the rest of my content creator career. But I was really concerned about like breaking audience trust, even though like every single brand I've worked with, I've really believed in the product. Whether they have sponsored me before or they don't sponsor me anymore, I genuinely like what I promote. And I think audiences are becoming more understanding of that. Like having sponsorships keeps content free. But it's been cool also because I think brands are becoming more open to creative feedback from creators, because I mean there have been some times I've worked with a brand and they have a whole script that you're gonna follow, and they are not flexible at all. But it's cool too, like when I've been building relationships with these brands, they've been open to like more of my creative input because they trust that I know what my audience wants to see. Not every brand is open to a skit, like with my old roommate kind of thing that I used to do. If you know. The more I work with them, the more they start to trust me too, and so I'm able to have more creative freedom that way. Then, you're more likely to want to watch it all the way through. I've talked about before how a lot of full-time creators use their platform to start building a business of their own. It's smart to have something of your very own. Passion projects, fashion brands, journals, clothing. It could be literally anything. I was thinking about that a lot last year, and that was the reason why I decided to go back to school, is because I couldn't really think about anything that I wanted to sell. And I think I was struggling to see how to use YouTube as a stepping stone for me, because I learned that I just don't want to be a business owner. Like running my own YouTube, like myself being the only employee, is kind of as far as I want it to go. It's that double-edged sword of your creative passion becoming a business, and then you end up just needing to do more businessy stuff in the day-to-day, and you don't get to even create. I really just don't feel like I have any strengths that would translate well to being a CEO and being a manager for people. I can barely manage myself. I just like to edit and make fun little videos, but I have considered recently, in order to support myself in case like something happens with brands and I don't get to work with them anymore, other ways I can stay afloat to get myself through school. And I've thought about what like paywall content might look like. I might consider charging a couple bucks a month to give members who want to view my videos like a day before it goes live, engage with the community a full day before the regular public gets to see it. So I've considered something like that, or some sort of platform to be able to live stream more, but it's just for a smaller group of people that are members only. But in general, like I want my vlogs to stay free. So I'm not there quite yet with exactly what I want to do, but if you feel a certain type of way about it, let me know. Like, what do you think of those two options? I don't think I would ever want to charge too much. If you didn't know, if I haven't made it clear enough already, I support myself financially, and I have for a very, very long time. My mom helped me get through college the first time, there was still a significant amount left over in student loans that I was able to pay off through content creation. You know, everything was going pretty smooth until about a year ago. And this is the thing that I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to. So please don't judge me. Please understand this is very vulnerable. And I quickly want to note, a reason why I decided to share this was because this event heavily affected my business decisions behind the scenes. I'm not saying this for pity or for attention or anything. It's just been a huge part of the behind the scenes story that I decided I just can't leave it out. And also it's mostly resolved now. So that's good. Most of you know my cat Delilah, she went into heart failure about a year ago and she had a 3-night stay in the ICU. But that hospital stay and then like the subsequent months of echocardiograms and really expensive medications and constant checkups and honestly like the Ubers to emergency vet. I don't want to be dramatic, but it really kind of did wreck me financially. And luckily I did have health insurance for her. I got it like a couple weeks after pulling her off the street. But what I didn't know is that the plan I selected, I don't know compared to other plans, but it doesn't cover much of anything related to heart failure. Because in insurance's eyes, it's just cheaper to like put the cat down and get another cat. Which like, what? Insurance is such a scam. Anyways, after months of fighting with insurance and even getting like help from her cardiologist, they only covered like maybe 5% of the bill and the rest was on me. I did not expect that heart failure was going to happen to a 1-year-old kitten, so I do forgive myself for not looking into freaking heart failure right off the bat with a baby kitten. There's no way I could have known. I would do it again in a heartbeat if it meant that it would save her life, which it did. Anyways, obviously her care far exceeded like any emergency fund that I had for myself, for the cats. It put me into some substantial debt. That debt also accrued a large percentage of interest every month. It was a real wake-up call for me that just one like unlucky financial situation could wipe me out clean like that. And unfortunately, it's also the type of economy where it's just, especially when you're living alone and trying to afford life all by yourself, it's really, really hard to get ahead. In my financial panic, I also felt a lot of gratitude for choosing to do content creation full time, because if this had happened, if I was just at my regular corporate job, there is no freaking way I could have had hope to start to get out of debt, because, you know, I have the opportunity to post more videos a week if I need extra money. I could accept more brand deals if that I have that opportunity. One of the reasons I decided I feel comfortable talking about this is because I was luckily able to pull myself out of like 2/3 of that debt now. But for a long time I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that taking the leap to be a content creator feels like such a financial risk, when in actuality, it's what ended up saving me from a profound amount of debt. And it gave me the flexibility to be able to adjust my income based on just effort alone. It's just made me think about like all the years I was making videos and not making a single cent from it, and then seeing now how it's been helping pull me out of that situation. And on top of this large amount of debt, I also elected to become an S Corp, which is an extension of an LLC. I have it written out, so I'm not like giving you misinformation, but an LLC is a business structure and an S Corp is a tax status. So the main benefit to become an S Corp are the tax benefits. Sorry, burping. Something happened where in that transition to becoming an S Corp, I ended up overpaying my taxes significantly. It was enough where I'm like, wow, I'm bringing in like money, but where the heck is it all going? Like I felt insane. So I didn't really find out like what was going on with that until I filed my taxes this year. And then I'm like, wow, that refund, you know, it would have made a humongous difference in my anxiety having that money when I really needed it. Like the end of last year, just panicking because I'm like, what am I going to do? I just was trying to brainstorm ways that I could really pinch pennies. And it led me to pulling back on a lot of the help that I had outsourced. Like I had an editor in the fall for a few months that she was so wonderful, and she would take all my raw footage and cut it down to a rough cut. And so then I would go on top of that and make all the fun little edits. And she was amazing, but I ended up having to lay her off. And for a while, I even tried like self-representation, like managing myself for a while so I could get that extra 20%. It ended up working out for me. And I think a lot of my tax refund was like extra money just set aside that I had made from that 20%. So being able to get that tax return and putting it all towards that credit card paid off 2/3 of my debt. So I feel so much lighter now. but it did impact my business a lot to not be with management anymore. I was spending a lot more time like learning how to read a contract, learning how to advocate for myself financially with a brand. You know, I think it really did impact my growth on YouTube too, because I just didn't have the bandwidth to see further ahead than like the next video I was going to post next week. There was no strategy. I was literally just trying to get through finals. Talent management is, for content creation at least, like my management, they are not just there to secure you brand deals. They're also like a business partner for you. They want to help you bring whatever vision you have for your channel or your brand to life. And they're there to help guide you. It's really a team effort, because a lot of the stuff like business decisions, I don't feel comfortable making on my own. It's important to hear like their perspective on the industry, on if a strategy I have or something I want to try is even worth the effort too. So there was no big picture thinking throughout all this last year, to be honest. I did okay at staying afloat, representing myself. There was a lot of positives from doing that. Now I can look at a contract and understand what's shady, what's not, what I need to ask for, all that stuff. And that's a great skill to have. I am now back with my management and I love them to death. Same management. They're wonderful. And I'm much happier here now. I can breathe a lot easier and I sleep a lot better at night, just because of them. And like I said, this was the year of reality checks for me. My goal going back to school is to be able to have a job that's high paying enough where if I stay single, which it's very possible, I'm able to financially support myself through the life that I want. But it's still so far away. Like I happen to choose a major that's going to take years and years of schooling. And so figuring out like how to make content creation work for me through that schooling to get to that point has been the latest challenge, because the only reason I'm able to even pursue further education is because of the flexibility that I have with my job. Otherwise, things significantly slow down. It is very possible to work full time and to go to school, but like it is, from what I hear, very exhausting. I'm not saying that is not something I might not end up doing in the future. Like it's very possible I could get a full-time job again and do school on the side and like still make videos. Like I'm staying open to anything. Most successful full-time creators have a really strong social media presence on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, the trifecta. And I have just been kind of cruising on just YouTube, which I think is kind of amazing. You guys are some of the strongest audience out there. I feel like this is very rare what we have here. That is not the norm. I'm also considering that too. Like, how am I complaining about financials when I'm not even posting on Instagram or I don't even have a TikTok? Like, there's so much untapped territory here. I had a realization that I'm not really treating YouTube any different than I did when it was my hobby as working a 9-to-5. I haven't really pushed myself at all to further my own personal brand. All I really have been focusing on has just been making videos for YouTube, and that's it. I'm like, well, there's so much more to content creation than just that. And I've kind of not posted on other social media platforms for a reason. One, because like TikTok seemed like it was gonna go at any second, but also I kind of still wanted a social media platform to just be for me, like a safe place where I could just organic post or go ghost if I wanted to, like no pressure. But that's not smart. I also just didn't want to get too burnt out from either, sharing too much or just by being on social media too much. Because if you're posting on Instagram, if you're a content creator, then you got to be on the platform a lot. And I'm already on the platform a lot, just scrolling. And then like, no. This is hobby behavior. Girl, you've been doing this for like almost 3 years. It's just it blew my mind once I realized this. Like sometimes I think about things so much that I think I'm doing more than I'm actually doing. It's frustrating. If you're also an overthinker, then you understand. But it's just kind of how social media is evolving to be. Like needing to be on all the platforms, and I've definitely been blocking my blessings a lot. Like I just need to go blocking more people on Instagram, to be honest, and that would help me feel more comfortable to post on there more vulnerably like I do on here. Because I don't think my strategy with YouTube really needs to change all that much. I think my branding could change. I think my marketing could maybe change, but the videos I don't want to change. There's a spark I still feel when I make my videos, which I'm very proud of that I still have. If I can't be creating, if I can't be editing, then it feels like there's no point for me to even do this. And I'm afraid I'll suffocate that spark with strategy and goals, wanting to scale, more scaling. Ah! I'm also afraid like if I invest more into mindsets like that, I'm afraid it will take away some of the authenticity, trust with my audience that I've worked so hard for. So I feel paralyzed almost because I'm afraid to change anything at all for fear of like ruining what I built, because this is my whole career. This is everything I have. This is probably one of my proudest things I've done in my life, is building this from nothing. But I think I can afford to take some more risks or to change my strategy a little bit, you know? I just have to remind myself that as long as I stick to my morals and my values, stick to my own boundaries, nothing's going to change too much that's going to turn people off. Yeah, realistically, I'm getting older and I'm maturing, and I feel a need to kind of pull back a little bit on things that I share. You guys know I have boundaries of like, I don't share my family, I don't talk about relationships or dating or anything, because you just need, when you share your life, you know, you just need some things for you. And those are the things I've decided that are just for me. And also, no one in those categories has signed up to have an online presence or have their business aired out. So I just prefer to like not touch on that at all. But I sometimes wonder if vlogging does hold me back from fostering deeper relationships in my actual life. Relationships that require the energy that I'm currently giving to you guys. I've seen it a lot with vloggers I've followed that like get into relationships and then get married, and then you just feel like they're sharing less and less, and you just feel less and less connected to them. I know inevitably that probably will happen if I say I'm going to be sharing my life online for the rest of my life. And it makes me nervous that if I start to give my energy to other relationships, that you guys will feel it and it'll make you guys sad. And I really don't want to do that. I think if I were to get into a relationship, certain parts of my life, sure, I would omit from vlogging, but I think I would still have face-to-face like girl chats with you and keep that relationship alive with you, because my relationship with you guys literally changed my life. I wouldn't have even gotten this far in a career pivot without your support. So I just never want you to feel like I'm throwing that away. But I also think it's important that I recognize if I'm ever like holding myself back. When I started my channel, I mean, I've been single this whole time for the most part. I live alone, so it's easy just to pick my camera up and vlog, but there could come a time when I'm living with somebody, or I'm, you know, maybe might have kids and I want to keep them offline. Right now, it makes sense for me to just continue to do what I'm doing, but I'm noodling about it. Like, it's something I can't figure out how I'm going to handle it until I end up crossing that bridge, because right now, girl, I'm single as a Pringle. So we don't have to worry about that probably for a while. It's been something new that's coming up. And I know all you guys just want to support me and want me to live my happiest life. And so maybe none of this is even an issue, would even be an issue. But it's something I do think about because I do care. Frankly, like, this entire video is me just overthinking the worst case scenario. This is truly like what it's been behind the scenes. And I worry a lot and I overthink a lot. It's just because I really care. I really, really care. And I truly just love what I do. I'm just trying to figure out how I can make this something that I can grow with. And I don't have an answer for it, but I don't know. Ranting. As far as going back to school and my content kind of pivoting to more college related things, of course I was a little worried, like, is this gonna stick, or is everyone on my audience gonna hate it and they're gonna go away? But it's actually brought on a lot of really amazing people that are going through the same thing. And for some of my audience before, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't a huge fan, but they watch anyway, or they just don't watch anymore. And that has been such a lesson for me. Like, I've truly this year been letting go of being a people pleaser. Like, there's no way I can live my life authentically and try and make sure everyone online is happy with my content. My content is my life. So first and foremost, I have to just do what's best for me. But it's brought me a ton of purpose. Like, when I'm in school, maybe you can see, but I feel like I just light up when I have something to work towards. Math has brought me a lot of joy, and being able to just focus on something besides content creation and besides like editing and listening to my own voice all day has been really refreshing. And it's helped me stay charged up and fired up and excited to continue to make videos. I think the only challenge has been being okay with talking about things that are not quite resolved in my life yet. Like, this education journey is really messy. Like, I'm pivoting often. Like, I started in computer science. Now I'm focusing more towards engineering. And it's when people don't watch every video, it's hard to keep people on board. And naturally, there are just like gaps, and people are wondering like, oh, when did you decide to do this or whatever? And I feel the need to kind of over-explain things all the time in order to keep people on board. But because I've also learned that what you don't explain, people just make assumptions. And most of the time, those assumptions are wrong. But also, most of the things in my life are just like, I don't really share until I kind of know what's really going on with that. But when it comes to school, it's just been like, that's the whole point, is sharing the messy process. And if you follow me, if you know me, you know, like, we're never seeking perfection on this channel. I'm truly just trying to approach this from as realistic position as possible and allowing myself the grace to change my mind and to pivot and just have to accept the repercussions of that. Sometimes I get a little defensive when people don't like understand my point of view on things. And so I'm just learning that the more I just invest in my education and my future and my personal goals, like the less this kind of feedback affects me. Like people are allowed to make assumptions, I guess. That's a part of what this job entails. At the end of the day, I just have to be true to myself. It's ever evolving. Like I make this video today, but tomorrow I could be like, oh, I actually feel different about that now. And that's okay. But overall, like my mental health has been so much better. I'm really trying to lean into all of my supporters. I'm really just focusing on me. And that's what I want to continue to keep doing. I just really hope that like talking about the financials and the money and the tough decision behind the scenes can help somebody. But as I was saying like earlier in the video, these challenges are a blessing in itself. Like I'd much rather have to make these decisions than feeling like I'm not going for what I want in my own life. And I don't take that for granted. But yeah, if you have any more questions or something really resonated with you, leave it in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. I'm excited to keep going. I'm excited for school to start back up. And I'm excited to be back to the vlogs next week. We've taken a little bit of a breather on that. I have a lot of more updates that I want to share with you that I get to do next week too. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up before you go. That engagement really helps YouTube recognize my channel and push it out to other awesome people like you. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!